The Montana wilderness was a kingdom of silence that winter. Miles of white stretching toward a sky so pale it looked bruised. The world had frozen solid. Every breath came out like smoke. Every sound shattered like glass dot, and in the middle of it all, a girl was dying. Arya Quinn stumbled through the snow. Boots torn, coat ripped, blood trailing behind her like ink in water. The storm clawed at her face, wind screaming through the pines. She didn't know where she was anymore. Only that she couldn't stop. Somewhere behind her, men shouted. Their voices were faint, distant, ghosts swallowed by the storm. She pressed forward, half blind, her hands raw and burning from the cold. She thought of the orphanage she'd escaped that morning, the cracked windows, the smell of bleach and regret, the way they whispered that she was wrong. That strange things happened around her when she cried. The blizzard answered her tears now. The snow thickened, swirling, erasing everything. Arya fell to her knees. The world tilted sideways. Her pulse slowed, and then she saw him. A figure moving through the white. Tall, broad-shouldered, barely human in the way he cut through the storm. His coat whipped in the wind, dark against the endless white. For a moment she thought he was another hunter, until she saw his eyes. They glowed faintly, silver, sharp, alive. He knelt beside her without speaking. The heat from his body hit her like a shock. His hands, bare, impossibly warm, brushed her face, and her pulse stumbled back to life. "Easy," he said softly. His voice was rough, deep, carrying something primal beneath it. "You're safe." She wanted to speak, but her lips wouldn't move. The world tilted again, dark at the edges. He lifted her like she weighed nothing, his breath fogging in the cold. "Hold on," he murmured. "Don't go quiet on me now." Arya's last memory before the dark took her was his heartbeat, steady and strong, burning against her frozen skin. When she woke, everything was fire. She blinked against the dim light. A cabin. Logs stacked neatly along the wall, flames flickering in the stone hearth. She was wrapped in furs, her body aching but warm. The smell of smoke and pine filled the air. The man sat by the fire, his back to her. He was sharpening a blade, slow and deliberate. "Where am I?" She whispered. He didn't turn. "Alive, that's enough for now." Her throat was dry. "You found me." "More like you found me," he said. "I don't take in strays." Arya frowned. "Then why did you?" He looked over his shoulder, finally meeting her gaze. Those eyes again, gray, luminous, edged with something that wasn't entirely human. "Because you were already half gone. And I don't like watching things die in my woods. My woods." The words echoed. He stood, crossing the room with the quiet grace of a predator. The firelight revealed the scars across his arms, the tattoos that wound along his skin like marks of another language. "What's your name?" he asked. "Arya." He nodded once. "I'm Rowan Blackwood." The name fit him, hard and ancient like the forest itself. She hesitated. "You live out here alone?" "People don't do well around me." "Why?" His lips twitched into something that wasn't quite a smile. "Because I'm not one of them." That night, the wind howled again. Arya sat awake, staring into the flames. Rowan had given her soup, blankets, silence. But he hadn't told her what he was. Outside, the storm grew louder, the trees creaking under the weight of snow. She thought she heard howls carried on the wind, long, mournful, too human to be wolves. She turned to him. "There are others out there." Rowan's jaw tightened. "Stay inside. They sound hurt. They're not." Her pulse quickened. "Then what are they?" He looked at her for a long moment. Then quietly, "They're mine." The room seemed to shrink. Before she could ask, a thud shook the door. The wood splintered under the weight of something heavy. Rowan moved faster than she could see, crossing the room, slamming the bolt down, grabbing a rifle from the wall. The growls outside deepened. Arya's heart pounded. "What's happening?" "Pack trouble. What does that mean?" He didn't answer. He fired a single shot into the ceiling. The noise silenced the howls outside for a heartbeat. Then from beyond the door, a voice, low, mocking. "Alpha," it said. "You can't hide her forever." Arya froze. Alpha Rowan's eyes darkened. "Leave," he growled. "She's one of us," the voice replied. The scent's all over her. You can't fight the bond. Try me. The air vibrated. The howls returned. Dozens this time. Rowan turned to Arya. Get away from the door. But she didn't move. The words echoed in her mind, one of us. What did he mean? She whispered. One of you? Rowan looked at her, and for the first time, she saw something break in him. You were supposed to die out there, he said quietly. That's why they left you. That's why I shouldn't have saved you. Her chest tightened. Why? Because now, he said, his voice low and dangerous. The fire that kept you alive is the same one that'll burn us both. The door shattered. Wind and snow burst into the cabin, scattering embers across the floor. Shadows moved, fast, animalistic. Gleaming eyes in the dark. Rowan pushed Arya behind him, the growl in his throat no longer human. His shoulders widened, bones shifting, skin darkening beneath the firelight. Her breath caught. She watched as claws burst from his hands, his spine curving, teeth glinting in the light. His voice was still his, but layered, rough and ancient. You want her? He growled. You'll go through me. The wolves lunged. The world became fire and motion, claws, teeth, snow, blood. Arya crawled backward, heart hammering, watching the impossible unfold. Rowan moved like lightning, a beast wrapped in human skin. When it ended, the world was silent again. The others were gone. Only Rowan remained, his chest heaving, eyes bright with pain. Arya knelt beside him, trembling. What are you? He looked up at her, half man, half creature, eyes soft despite the blood on his skin. The last of what shouldn't exist. He reached for her hand, his voice breaking. And now, because of me, you're part of it too. Outside, outside. The snow began to fall again, soft, endless, covering the blood. The footprints, the fire. Inside. The only light left came from the flames he had built for her, the fire that had saved her life, the fire that would soon consume them both. The storm broke at dawn, leaving behind a silence that felt heavier than the blizzard itself. The mountains were drenched in silver light, steam rising from the melted snow where fire and fury had collided. The night before, Arya woke to the sound of dripping water and the faint scent of blood. Her body ached, but she was alive, again. Every breath she took carried the taste of smoke and pine. The cabin was wrecked. The walls splintered, the door half hanging from its hinges. Claw marks gouged into the floorboards. Rowan was outside. Through the broken window, she saw him kneeling in the snow, shirtless despite the cold. His back streaked with dried blood. He wasn't healing. Or maybe he was slower than before, deliberate, punishing himself. Arya wrapped a blanket around her shoulders and stepped outside. The air cut like glass. You should be resting, she said softly. He didn't turn. So should you. Her voice trembled. You called them your pack. They were, he said. Once. What do they want from me? Rowan stood slowly, the movement powerful, too graceful to be entirely human. They think you're the prophecy, the one the blood moon whispered about. She frowned. A prophecy? He nodded once. They believe a girl with moonlight in her blood will rise, a bridge between man and beast. Someone who will end the curse that binds us. Arya laughed weakly. I'm not anyone's prophecy. I'm just… His eyes flicked toward her, intense, unblinking. Then why did you survive the storm? The question landed like a blow. She opened her mouth to speak, to say luck, chance, miracle, but no sound came out. Rowan turned away, jaw tightening. I told you last night you shouldn't have lived. I meant it. She felt her stomach twist. You regret saving me? No, he said after a long pause. I regret what it's going to cost. The hours slipped by in uneasy quiet. Rowan repaired the door, his movements methodical, his silence thicker than smoke. Arya sat by the fire, staring at the flickering light that had nearly burned down the cabin. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw his other form, the creature beneath the man. The power in it. The loneliness. Do they all turn? She asked suddenly. He didn't look up from his work. Under the moon, yes. It's not a choice. And you. His hand stilled on the wood. I learned to control it. Most of the time. She swallowed. And when you can't, then people die. The honesty in his voice left no room for fear, only understanding. She watched him for a long time, the firelight painting him in shades of gold and shadow. "You don't have to protect me," she said finally. "I can take care of myself." He glanced at her. "You couldn't even stand in the snow without freezing." "Then teach me." The words left her before she could think. Rowan turned fully now, his gray eyes unreadable. "Teach you?" "Yes," she said. "Whatever this is, this world, this curse, this blood, I want to understand it." He studied her in silence, as if weighing her soul. Then he said softly, "Understanding comes with pain." "I already know pain," she replied. "Show me something else." For the first time, his mouth curved into something almost like a smile. "Fine. At sunset." By the time the light began to fade, the world outside the cabin was a sheet of gold. The snow glowed, the air cold enough to make her lungs ache. Rowan led her through the forest in silence. The wolves were out there somewhere, she could feel them now, moving beyond sight, their presence brushing against her mind like wind through tall grass. Rowan stopped at the edge of a frozen lake. The surface shimmered beneath the dying light. "Listen," he said. "To what?" "Everything." She closed her eyes, trying. At first, she heard only the wind. Then, slowly, something deeper, the heartbeat of the earth. The distant rhythm of paws in snow, even the whisper of her own blood beneath her skin. "It's like a song," she whispered. Rowan nodded. "That's the call. Every wolf hears it. It's what ties us to the moon." Her voice trembled. "I hear it too, I know." She opened her eyes, meeting his gaze. "What does that mean?" "It means the storm didn't just spare you," he said quietly. "It changed you." They stood in silence as the sun slipped below the mountains. The lake reflected the first stars, sharp and cold. Rowan turned toward her, the glow of twilight catching in his eyes. "Arya," he said softly. "When the next full moon rises, you'll feel it. The hunger. The pull. The fire in your blood will try to claim you." Her throat tightened. "And if it does?" He stepped closer, his voice a whisper. "Then I'll stop you, even if it kills me." The air between them burned. Arya felt her pulse quicken, her breath catching in the cold. "You don't have to protect me from myself." He smiled faintly, bitterly. "I'm not protecting you. I'm protecting the world from what happens if I lose you." The confession hit like lightning. She didn't know whether to cry or run or reach for him. Before she could choose, the wind shifted, and with it came the sound of a distant horn, deep and mournful. Rowan froze. "What is that?" She whispered. He didn't answer. His jaw clenched. "The council." She frowned. "Who are they?" "The ones who made me Alpha. The ones who'll take you if they find you." Her blood turned to ice. "Why me?" "Because they'll see what I saw," he said. "The spark. What spark?" He met her eyes. "The kind that lights fires in the dark." That night they didn't sleep. Rowan kept watch by the window, the rifle across his knees. Arya lay by the fire, pretending not to feel the weight of his fear. Outside, the wolves cried again, not wild this time, but mournful, almost pleading. And deep inside her, the hum grew stronger, the fire spreading through her veins like a heartbeat she didn't yet understand. The next morning broke, sharp and colorless, frost crawling across the cabin windows like veins. The fire had died sometime before dawn, and Arya woke shivering beneath the furs. The world outside was quiet, the kind of quiet that came before something terrible. Rowan wasn't inside. Her heart lurched. She sat up quickly, scanning the empty space. His coat was gone, as was the rifle. The footprints leading out the door were half buried in snow. Heading toward the woods, something inside her twisted. An instinct that wasn't entirely her own. She threw on her boots and followed. The forest was darker today. The pines leaned closer together, their shadows long and thin. The air tasted of metal. Arya followed his trail until it vanished at a small clearing. Where the snow had melted into mud, that's where she saw them. 2 figures. One was Rowan, tense, shoulders squared, voice low but dangerous. The other was a man in a black coat, his hair the color of ash, his eyes a mirror of Rowan's own. They weren't strangers. "You shouldn't be here." "Elias," Rowan said. Elias smiled faintly. I could say the same, brother. Brother. The word hit Arya like a spark. I came to warn you, Elias said. The council knows. They've seen the fire. They know the girl lives. Rowan's jaw flexed. Then they know I won't give her up. Elias stepped closer. Don't be a fool. She's the key. If the prophecy is true, she'd destroy everything. The pack. The moon's order. Even you. Then let it burn, Rowan said. I'm done being ruled by fear. You think this is rebellion? It's suicide. Rowan turned away. Then let it be. Elias's voice softened. You love her. It wasn't a question. Rowan's silence was answer enough. Elias sighed. The council will come for her. And when they do, I won't be able to stop them. Rowan looked at him for a long time, then said, You've done enough by warning me. Elias nodded once, sadness flickering across his face. You always were the one who mistook mercy for strength. Then he was gone, vanished into the trees, leaving nothing but the faint scent of iron and snow. Arya stepped out from behind the pines. You didn't tell me you had a brother. Rowan didn't turn. It wouldn't have changed anything. He said I'd destroy everything. He's wrong. She crossed her arms. You don't believe that? Rowan faced her then, his expression hard but his eyes pleading. Arya, there are things about me you don't understand. About what I've done. About what I was before you. Then tell me, she said. He hesitated, then exhaled, the sound of a man surrendering something he'd sworn never to speak. When I became Alpha, it wasn't because I wanted to lead. It was because I was willing to kill for it. Her stomach dropped. You! I challenged the old Alpha. The council made it law. To lead, one must kill. I took the throne covered in blood, his and my own. But the moment I did, I felt it. The curse. The fire that binds us to the moon. He took a step closer, his voice low. Every Alpha carries the fire. It's what makes us strong. But if it grows too hot, it consumes everything. Reason, mercy, love. When I found you, I saw that same fire in you. Arya's throat tightened. You think I'm cursed too? I think you're what comes after the curse, he said softly. And I think the council fears that more than death. She looked down at her hands. But I don't feel powerful. I feel broken. Broken things can still burn, he murmured. That night, the wind carried the scent of ash again. Rowan had built the fire higher than usual, as if daring the world to come find them. Arya sat across from him, knees pulled to her chest. What happens when they come? She asked. They won't come tonight, he said. Elias will stall them. And after? He stared into the flames. After we run. Her chest tightened. You said we can't keep running. He looked up, meeting her eyes. We can't, but I can keep you alive long enough to make your choice. What choice? Whether to embrace what you are, he said quietly, or burn it out of existence. The words made her blood run cold. She turned toward the fire. What if I can't control it? Then I'll do what I swore to do the night I found you. She looked back at him. And what's that? To light a fire for you, or die keeping it alive. Later, when Rowan finally slept, Arya crept outside. The snow had stopped, the moon high and cold above the trees. The forest hummed, not with sound, but with energy, as if the world were holding its breath. She knelt and pressed her palm into the snow. The earth responded. A soft glow rippled beneath her skin, spreading outward in veins of silver. The snow melted in a perfect circle around her, steam rising from the ground. She gasped. Her pulse raced. She wasn't imagining it. The fire was real, and it was growing. She heard movement behind her. Rowan's voice. Soft but sharp. Sharp but sharp. You feel it now, don't you? She turned. He stood a few feet away, barefoot in the snow, the moonlight turning his skin pale as frost. I don't want this, she whispered. I didn't either, he said. But it's what we are. Tears burned her eyes. Then maybe I don't want to be what we are. He stepped closer, his breath visible in the cold. You don't have to be their weapon. You can be something new. Something better. The ground trembled beneath them, faint at first, then stronger. The trees groaned. Rowan's head snapped up. They're here. Before Arya could speak, a distant horn split the silence, low and mournful. Echoing off the mountains. Rowan grabbed her hand. Run! They sprinted through the forest, snow exploding under their boots, the glow of torches flickering behind them. Arya's lungs burned, her heartbeat syncing with his. The fire in her blood flared hotter, brighter, until the night itself seemed to pulse around her. She tripped, fell, gasped. The snow hissed where her hands touched it, melting to steam. Rowan pulled her up. Don't stop. But she couldn't. Her body was shaking violently, her veins alight. It's burning, she cried. I can't. Arya! He cupped her face, forcing her to look at him. Listen to me. You're not dying. You're awakening. The world went white. The trees burst into flame. Not red or orange, but silver, like moonlight made fire. The figures chasing them stopped. Blinded, screaming, and through it all, Rowan's voice, a whisper at the edge of her consciousness. Don't be afraid of your fire. It's what makes you alive. When the light faded, the forest was gone. The snow had melted into a smoking field of ash. Rowan knelt beside her, eyes wide, his chest heaving. Arya's body glowed faintly still, silver veins fading under her skin. What did I do? She whispered. Rowan smiled, broken, proud, terrified. You did what no one else ever could. What's that? You survived your own fire. The forest never recovered from the night she burned it. For miles the trees were ghosts, blackened spires reaching toward a sky that had forgotten color. The air still smelled faintly of smoke, of something sacred turned to ash. And in the middle of that desolation, two figures moved through the ruins, one broken, one reborn. Rowan carried the weight of exhaustion in every step, his coat torn, his once steady hands now trembling from too many sleepless nights. The fire had not touched him, but something else had. The moment Arya's power had awakened, the bond between them, the one he'd spent his life denying, had snapped taut like a live wire. He could feel her now. Always, her heartbeat echoing somewhere just beneath his ribs, her thoughts flickering like light behind his eyes. Arya walked a few paces ahead, silent. Her eyes had changed since that night, faintly luminous in the dark, the color of molten silver. Sometimes she spoke softly to herself, as if she were listening to voices no one else could hear. Rowan, she said suddenly, without turning. How long until they find us? He hesitated. They already have. She stopped. The wind stirred her hair. Then why are we still alive? Because they're waiting for you to come to them. Arya turned, her gaze steady. Maybe I should. No. His voice came out sharper than he meant. That's exactly what they want. Her expression didn't change. I killed half their council. They won't stop. And if you go to them, they'll turn you into what they fear most. She looked at him for a long time. Maybe that's what I already am. They found shelter that night in the shell of an old farmhouse near the valley ridge. The roof was half collapsed, the walls lined with frost. Rowan built a small fire, small because anything larger made her flinch now. He watched her from across the flames. She sat by the window, staring out into the dark, her reflection faintly glowing in the glass. I used to dream about warmth, she said quietly. When I was a kid, at the orphanage, they'd lock the windows to keep out the cold. I'd press my hands to the glass and imagine fire on the other side. Rowan's throat tightened. You got your fire. She laughed, hollow, bitter. And now I'm the one who burns everything I touch. He leaned forward, voice low. You saved us both. I destroyed a forest. You destroyed a prison, he corrected. That's what this place was, a cage built by the moon's fear of what we could become. Arya turned toward him. The firelight caught the shimmer in her eyes. And what are we now? He didn't answer right away. He stood, crossed the room, and knelt beside her. Free, he said. If we want to be. Her breath caught. You'd really walk away from all of it? Your throne, your kind, your name? He smiled faintly. I already have. Arya looked down. You shouldn't have. I don't deserve it. He reached out, his fingers brushing her wrist, slow, cautious, reverent. Don't tell me what I should or shouldn't give up. You didn't ask for this power, but you're the only one I trust to carry it. Her pulse raced under his touch. You don't even know what I am. He met her gaze. Yes, I do. You're the reason I still believe there's something worth saving. Outside, the wind howled. But beneath it, Arya heard something else. A deep rhythmic pounding. Hooves, dozens of them. Her eyes widened. They found us. Rowan stood instantly, reaching for his blade. Get behind me. The night erupted. The door exploded inward, snow and splinters flying. Figures flooded in, cloaked, armed, their eyes gleaming white. The council's hunters. Rowan moved first. Steel clashed against claw, the air thick with the scent of blood and fire. Arya backed away, heart hammering, her vision blurring. The bond between them throbbed like a heartbeat in her skull. Every wound he took, she felt. Rowan! She screamed. He turned just in time to block a blade meant for her, but the second strike slipped through. The sound it made, the wet, horrible sound, stole the air from her lungs. He stumbled back, the blade buried deep in his side. Arya froze. The world tilted. No, she whispered. No, 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 the hunters closed in. One of them, a tall woman with hair white as bone, raised her hand, her voice calm. It's not too late, child. Come with us. We can save you from yourself. Arya looked at Rowan. Blood soaked his shirt. His breathing was shallow. But his eyes never left hers. Don't go. He whispered. She felt it then. The fire rising again. Hotter, wilder. The hunters sensed it too. She's igniting. One of them shouted, Kill her before she burns the valley. Rowan forced himself to his feet, staggering in front of her. You'll have to go through me first. The woman's eyes narrowed. Gladly. She raised her blade but never brought it down. The fire came first. It erupted from Arya like a second sunrise. White, blinding, pure. The hunters screamed as the heat tore through the air, consuming everything it touched. The farmhouse walls melted. The snow outside turned to steam. And at the center of it all, Arya stood. Her face streaked with tears that glowed silver. She turned to Rowan, who was still on his knees, trembling. I can't stop it, she gasped. It's too much. He reached for her, his hand finding hers amid the fire. Then don't. What? Let it burn. Let it end. She shook her head, sobbing. It'll kill you. He smiled weakly. Then I'll die warm. The fire swallowed them both. When the light finally faded, the valley was silent again. Snow began to fall slow. Delicate flakes landing on blackened earth. In the center of the ruin, Arya knelt beside Rowan's still body. Her hands trembled, the glow fading from her skin. No, she whispered. Not again. She pressed her palms to his chest. Nothing. She pressed harder. Come back! The fire sparked. Once, twice. And then his chest rose. Rowan gasped. Air flooding his lungs, eyes snapping open, gold and silver intertwined. Burning softly, he looked at her. Alive, barely. You lit the world on fire, he said, voice weak but full of awe. And you brought me back with it. Arya collapsed against him, crying into his shoulder as the snow fell around them. The ashes cooling beneath their feet. Somewhere in the distance, wolves began to howl. Not in mourning, but in reverence. The fire that once destroyed everything now burned softer, like dawn spreading through frost. Days passed, or maybe weeks, and slowly, the valley began to heal. The snow returned first, covering the blackened earth like forgiveness. Then came the rain, cleansing the ash. New shoots of pine rose through the soil, fragile but alive. Arya and Rowan stayed. They built a small shelter by the river, a home carved from the remnants of ruin. The world had gone quiet again, not the tense quiet of waiting for death, but the kind that comes after a storm has said everything it needs to say. Rowan was healing. Though his scar glowed faintly at night, a thin silver line that pulsed when the moon rose. He said it didn't hurt. Arya wasn't sure she believed him. The first few nights she couldn't sleep. She would sit outside, watching the fire flicker low, her hands outstretched toward the warmth. She didn't need its heat anymore. Her blood carried its own. But she liked to pretend. She liked to remember what it felt like to be human. Rowan joined her one of those nights, silent as always. He sat beside her, the scent of smoke and pine clinging to him. You're not afraid of fire anymore. he said softly. She smiled faintly. You taught me not to be. I didn't teach you, he said. You learned it on your own. Arya looked at him, then really looked. He wasn't the same man who dragged her from the snow that night. He was quieter now, steadier. The violence in him had been replaced by something gentler. Something human, but his eyes, those eyes still carried the wild. Do you miss it? She asked. Being their alpha? He thought for a moment. No, he said. I miss what I thought I could be for them. A leader who could keep them safe. A man who could carry their sins. Maybe you still can. He smiled sadly. The old pack is gone. But maybe we can start something new. That morning, the world smelled of rain. Arya went down to the river, her reflection rippling in the current. For the first time, she didn't see a stranger staring back. Her eyes still held that faint silver glow. Her skin that quiet hum of power, but beneath it all, she was calm. Whole. Arya. Rowan called softly from behind her. She turned. There's something you should see. He led her through the forest. To the edge of the valley where the fire had burned hottest. There, among the ash and snow, stood a tree tall, impossibly green. Its bark silver in the morning light. It shouldn't have been there. And yet it was. Rowan touched the trunk gently. It grew from where you fell. Arya stepped closer, her fingers brushing the bark. It was warm beneath her skin. The hum she'd felt in her blood was there too, pulsing softly through the roots, spreading out beneath the earth. It's alive because of you, Rowan said. No, she whispered. It's alive because I stopped fighting. He looked at her for a long moment. That's the lesson, isn't it? The fire isn't the curse. It's the denial of it that destroys us. Arya smiled faintly. Then maybe the curse is finally broken. Rowan's hand found hers. No, he said gently. It's transformed. That night they built a fire outside the cabin, not for warmth, but as a promise. The sky was clear, the stars sharp against the black. The moon hung low, thin and silver, no longer a master but a witness. Arya sat beside Rowan, the flames reflected in her eyes. Do you think they're still out there? She asked. The others? He nodded. Somewhere, watching, waiting to see what we'll become. And what will we become? He turned to her. Something the world's never seen before. The fire crackled between them, its light dancing across their faces. Rowan reached out, brushing a thumb across her cheek. His hand was warm, but her skin was warmer still. I never told you what I thought when I first saw you, he said. Arya tilted her head. What did you think? That you were already dead, he admitted. And that saving you was the first selfish thing I'd done in 100 years. She smiled softly. Why selfish? Because I didn't save you for the world, he said. I saved you for me. Her eyes filled, but not with sadness. With something gentler. And now? He leaned closer, his voice barely a breath. Now you're the one who keeps me alive. Later, after the fire had burned down to embers, Arya walked to the river's edge again. The moonlight painted the water silver. She knelt, pressing her fingers to the surface. The water rippled, glowing faintly beneath her touch. And then, a shape appeared. For a heartbeat, she saw herself not as she was, but as she'd become, part flame, part flesh, part light. Not cursed, not divine, just whole. A whisper rose from the wind, familiar, soft. The fire was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to show you how to begin again. She smiled through tears. Then I've begun. Rowan's footsteps crunched behind her. Talking to the wind again? Maybe it listens better than people do. He chuckled, wrapping his arms around her from behind. Maybe, but I'd rather listen to you myself. She leaned into him, her head resting against his shoulder. The fire in her blood pulsed once more, not violent now, but steady. Like a heartbeat sinking with his. And for the first time since the snow, since the orphanage, since the endless running, she felt it. Warmth. Not from a fire, but from being seen. When dawn came, the world was gold again. The smoke had lifted. The valley glowed with life, the first spring of a world reborn. Two figures walked through it, leaving no footprints behind, the lost, damaged girl and the alpha who had once been feared. Together, they carried the fire that could end worlds, and chose instead to build one dot as they disappeared into the trees. The wolves began to howl again. Not in warning, not in mourning, but in harmony, a new song for a new world.